We contrast this emphasis on the beginning of the goodness, of the ever-renewed beginning, we could say, of human goodness, with the state of our society today, which sadly presents us with endings time and again in crucial areas of our life. First of all, we live in what has increasingly become a divorce culture. We don't even need to cite the statistics about the enormous rise in divorce. And the way to avoid divorce, apparently, is by cohabitation, which lends into another kind of divorce, separation again and again. But we have on every side this divorce culture, and this culture, the law of divorce, teaches lessons to those who live in this society. And it especially teaches lessons to the young, it seems to me. What are some of those lessons that the divorce culture teaches? First, that promises are breakable at will without having to give any justification. You make a promise and you can break it, and the law and the culture support you. Secondly, that others are disposable at will. Just get rid of them if they don't like it, and the law will support you. Finally, and painfully enough, people discover, I am disposable. This person to whom I entrusted my whole future has now just dismissed me. I'm disposable. And if that's the case, then it's not too surprising that we find that life itself is disposable. And so it is in the question of abortion, where we have this deliberate denial of the dignity and the humanity of the child in the womb, the denial of the human dignity of that being, but also the refusal to accept the dependence of this being on the father and the mother. I say on the father because I think we need to widen our horizon a bit here, that we often tend to think of the mother as the one who bears the responsibility for abortion, and indeed she does. But what about the father? I'm thinking of a man I visited in the jail in Eugene 25 years ago, and I still remember he said, you know, the reason he broke up with this one woman was because he didn't want to have dependents. He didn't want to have any children depending on him. That stayed in my mind, that I want to have this relation with this woman, but not at the price of having anyone dependent upon me, which is to reject this second dimension of human goodness that God has inserted into our life from the beginning. We in Oregon and Washington have the rare privilege, we could say, in quotation marks, of being able to elect physician-assisted suicide. We can go to a doctor, and the law will support us, and have him write us a prescription to end our life. But when we think of this in the context of the Word of God, we see that this is to exaggerate human dignity. Exaggerate human dignity. This is not to say, I am an image of God. It's to say, I am God. I'm the one who decides about death and life. I don't have to pay attention to the living God that made me, gave me life. I'll decide for myself. And secondly, this is to refuse to accept my God-given dependence on the care of others. And so in both areas, both aspects, we see that we go against the goodness of God built into our human nature. Today, in the book of wisdom, we hear that all good things together came to me in her company, in the company of wisdom, the wisdom of God. When we reject the life-giving wisdom of our Creator, things come to a bad end. The end of a marriage, the end of an innocent life in the womb, the end of terrible suffering and illness and sickness. Respect for life, which we celebrate this month, especially in the United States, calls us to pass through the eye of the needle and recover the wisdom of the beginning as the surest way to a free and happy future. Good teacher, teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain wisdom of heart. Cary.